During the 21st century, a Third World War broke out. The survivors realized that a Fourth World War would be the end of the world. So they created a new arm of the law, the Grammaton Cleric. They were tasked with seeking out and eradicating all feelings. Cops arrive at a building and form a barricade. The people hiding in the building grab weapons and attack cops. A gun battle ensues. The cops enter the building and start shooting everyone inside. A high-ranking cleric, John Preston, arrives at the scene with his partner, Errol Partridge. The cops inform them that there are more than a dozen inside. John enters the room and the cops blow out the bulbs. John shoots and kills everyone inside. John and Errol carefully look at the aftermath of the shootout. On John's instructions, the cops pull a rug and take apart the wooden floors beneath. There is an authentic painting of Mona Lisa, along with other works of art and literature. They burn everything down. John notices that Errol has saved a book of poems by W.B. Yeats. Errol explains that the evidence team misses things sometimes. He wanted this to be done properly. They head back to Libria, a totalitarian city-state run by Tetragrammaton Council, led by Father. Father communicates propaganda through giant screens, explaining that human emotions are a disease that leads men down a path of hatred. The population is required to take a daily dose of a drug called prosium that suppresses emotions. The clerics are trained in the art of gun kata and are on a mission to eradicate all forms of art, literature, and music. Violators are labeled as sense offenders and are sentenced to death. John and Errol take their drug injections. John meets up with Vice Consul DuPont, the voice of the father. John has been a prodigal student, knowing instantly if someone is feeling just by looking at them. John has 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The boy is on the path to becoming a cleric. His wife was arrested and incinerated for being a sex offender 4 years ago. DuPont wants to know how John missed that his wife was an offender. John has no answer for that. John watches the footage of his conversation with Errol. He suspects that Errol has started having feelings. He goes to the evidence room to check if Errol has deposited the book as evidence. The receptionist tells him that Errol has not been here for weeks. John finds out that Errol has been going to Nether, regions outside the city, every night for the last 2 weeks. John finds Errol reading the book in Nether. Errol tells him that he will happily pay the price for having feelings. John shoots him in the head. John's new partner, Andrew Brandt, arrive at the scene and they both drive back. John goes back home and goes to sleep. He dreams of his wife, Viviana. The cops arrive and capture Viviana while John tries to fight them. The cops inform him that his wife has been charged with sex offense. John stops fighting. Viviana kisses him and the cops take her away. In the morning, John accidentally breaks his vial of prosium. John's boy notices it and tells him to go by Equilibrium, log the loss and get a replacement. John visits the Equilibrium Center. Brandt arrives and John goes with him instead of going to the center. They raid another house and arrest a woman, Mary O'Brien, who has missed her dose. They find a hidden room full of ancient illegal relics. Mary grabs the gun from the cop and tries to shoot John. Brandt points his gun at her, but John stops him, telling him that they need her. John interrogates her and wants to know who was helping her to acquire all those relics. She asks him, why is he alive? His answer is to serve Libria, which she feels is pointless. They exist so that they can continue to exist. Feelings are as vital as breath. That is what makes them humans. Without feelings, breath is just a ticking clock. At night, John looks at his vial of prosium and decides to skip it. He wakes up sweating after having a bad dream. He starts having his feelings back. He tears the film on his glass window and watches the beautiful rain outside in awe. He rushes to the bathroom to take his vial of prosium, but decides against it. He drops all his vials of prosium out in the street. He puts his hand on the stair railing to get a feel of it. At work, he sits at his bench and has become more aware of his surroundings. Everything feels more vibrant to him. Brandt arrives and tells him about the sex offenders holed up in the Nether. They go and raid the place, engaging in a gun battle. There are 50 men, all armed. They bombed the prosium factories. The cops go in and start killing everyone in sight. John accidentally ends up killing an old man and feels guilty about it. He removes his gloves and starts feeling the walls. He notices light coming out of a hole in the wall. He goes to the room on the other side of wall. The room is full of ancient illegal relics. He lights up a lantern, looks at the various objects and feels them by touching them. He takes a Beethoven's record and plays it. He plays with the globe when Beethoven starts playing in the background. He starts feeling an intense range of emotions and starts crying. Brandt notices John carrying a book in his pocket. John tells him that the evidence team misses things sometimes. He wanted this to be done properly. They come across a large number of dogs kept as pets. John gets visibly upset when they start exterminating dogs. A puppy runs up to John and he grabs it. The cops ask him to hand it over, and he reluctantly does so. But he takes the puppy back and tells them that the dog needs to be tested for disease. Brandt has started suspecting him. John meets up with DuPont and tells him that instead of killing the offenders, they should have captured and interrogated them for more information about the underground. A resistance movement started to topple the father. DuPont informs him that the father has decreed that there will be no more process for sense offenders. The orders are to either shoot them on sight or incinerate them without trial. John looks at the evidence confiscated from Mary. He takes a ribbon out and starts smelling it. He puts it into his pocket. At night, John goes into the nether just like his old partner Errol. Unknown to him, Brandt is following him. John stops in front of a building and releases the puppy he saved earlier. The puppy won't leave his side. Overcome with emotion, he takes the puppy and puts it in his trunk along with his coat. Cops arrive and ask John for identification. It's in his coat, which he left in the trunk with the puppy. He tells them that his name is John Preston, and he is a very high-ranking cleric. The captain recognizes him and apologizes to him. They hear a puppy yelp from the trunk of his car. The captain opens the trunk to see a puppy. John shoots 2 cops at his side and engages in a fight with the rest of the cops. He uses his gun kata training to outsmart and kill the rest of the cops. At home, John removes the mirror in his bathroom and hides his prosium vials behind it. John is practicing gun kata when Brandt joins him in the practice. Brandt believes that John is thinking about the murders in the nether last night and wondering if the higher-ups know who did it. Brandt has his own theories, but he is glad that the murders happened, because now the father has ordered an acceleration in the crackdown on offenders. He informs him about a raid in the nether, Sector 7. They raid the place and kill everyone while John watches helplessly. A resistance member tries to shoot John, but John tells them to run. They hesitate, so John leads them himself. He comes across 2 cops and easily disposes them off. More cops arrive. John tells the resistance to go and kills all the cops quite easily. He goes into a room where the resistance members are standing in line. Brandt has them surrounded with a team of cops. Brandt, who still suspects John, covers for him, saying that this was their plan all along. John would lead them into a trap, and Brandt would capture them. Brandt wants John to execute them himself and gives him his gun. John turns the gun to auto, but then locks the gun and refuses to kill. The cops execute the prisoners while John walks away. John visits DuPont and tells him that he wishes to locate the underground and destroy it once and for all. DuPont gives him permission to do it. He sits by Errol's body. Feeling guilty over his death, he apologizes. The body is scheduled to be burned along with all the illegal possessions he had. John looks at the various photographs he had. He keeps the one that has freedom written on its back. He visits Mary and asks him about Errol. She denies knowing him. He shows her a photograph of Errol and Mary, the one he took from Errol's possessions. She tells him to go ask him if he wants to know about him. He tells her that he killed Errol. She attacks John with a pencil, but John is able to stop her. He feels attracted to her. John leaves. He visits the Freedom Reading Center and asks about Errol. He sends everyone out and asks the man in charge about Errol. The man denies knowing him. John threatens to expose him as an offender if he doesn't speak. He tells John that Errol used to come here with a man named Jurgen, and that's all he knows. He notices a door hidden in the book racks. He grabs the man in charge and throws him through the door. Going further inside, he comes into an empty room and meets up with Jurgen. Jurgen tells him that they have been watching him and takes him to the underground. He hooks him up to a polygraph test to check for fluctuations of human emotions. He passes the test and informed Jurgen that Mary is scheduled for combustion tomorrow. Jurgen already knew and wants John to kill the father. John starts running in the streets. Cops arrive and tell John to come with them immediately. He is taken to DuPont, who tells him that there is a rumor going around. One of the clerics has decided to cease his dose. John feigns ignorance, and DuPont gets angry at him. DuPont wants to know what John has been doing lately. DuPont wants him to end the resistance before the resistance infiltrates their ranks. John puts his vial in the back of his mirror and goes to visit Mary. His alarm goes off for the dose, but he doesn't take it. Mary realizes it and asks him what he's gonna do. He cries and touches her hand. He meets up with Jurgen and discusses the assassination of the father. Father has never given a single audience since the upheaval. Jurgen tells him that if he can manage to kill father, their large network will ensure the destruction of all Prosium clinics and factories in Libria. All they need to do is disrupt the supply by one single day. John decides to kill the father. Jurgen advises him not to visit Mary again, as it is only going to make it harder for him. John watches the footage of his wife, Viviana, getting executed. He notices himself standing at the back, emotionless. He starts running to stop the incineration of Mary, but fails to reach her in time. He watches her helplessly, and in great sadness as she is burned. He starts crying out in the street. Brandt arrives and arrests him. He takes him back to the council and announces to everyone that John has ceased his dose. Brandt takes him to DuPont. John tells DuPont that he promised he would find the cleric associated with resistance, and he has, and tells him that Brandt is the mole. DuPont tells Brandt that upon investigation, it was found that his gun was used for the murders in the Nether. Brandt takes out his gun and notices that it belongs to John. John switched weapons back when Brandt gave him his gun for execution. Brandt says that John switched the weapons and he has John's gun now. John says that Brandt took his gun when he arrested him. Brandt is arrested and taken away for incineration. DuPont tells John that since a complaint was lodged by Brandt, as per the law, a search of his premises will need to be carried out. John requests that should he bring the resistance to them, he should be allowed an audience with the father. DuPont opens his handcuff and John rushes home. The search team has already arrived. He goes to the bathroom, removes the mirror, and notices that all his vials are gone. His son arrives, hands him his vials, and tells him to be more careful in the future. His son and his daughter had both stopped taking their vials since their mom died. John meets Jurgen and calls DuPont to tell him that he has located the resistance. Jurgen and his team is arrested and taken away. John is being granted an audience with the father. He is told to not address the father unless addressed by him. If he leaves the security zone, the snipers will take him out. He will be required to surrender his firearm, and he will be tested before he can visit the father. It is revealed that Brandt was not arrested. It was all a part of the plan to arrest John and the resistance. DuPont reveals himself to be the father. The real father died years ago. The council elected him to pursue his paternal tradition. Having anticipated the trap, John takes his hidden firearms and starts shooting at the guards. After killing them, he tells DuPont that he is coming for him. He goes outside only to notice more guards and is able to easily and quite masterfully dispose them off. He enters a room with Brandt and DuPont. He throws away his gun. Guards emerge from behind the pillars. John grabs a katana from one of the guards and slices them all. Brandt grabs another katana and engages in a sword fight with John. John easily disposes off Brandt with swift slices from his katana. DuPont grabs a gun and so does John. They engage in a fight and keep trying to shoot each other. The fight ends when John manages to grab the gun from DuPont. DuPont tells him that he feels, and he doesn't take Prosium. He asks John if he is willing to pay the price of killing an alive person. John says he will happily pay the price and shoots him. John starts shooting all the electronics in the building, shutting down all the propaganda screens in the city. He looks out the window and notices the bombs going off in the distance. The underground resistance comes out and starts killing the cops. The movie ends with John smiling as all the Prosium factories are destroyed. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos like these.